Hello and welcome to Smash Hits Sports. It is peak March Madness. We are getting into the pinnacle of what this sport is. We have some bids that have already been locked in for the NCAA tournament. This is conference championship week. Basketball is in full swing. It's the talk of the town. And Nick, Duke basketball is all the way back. I have never believed more that we have come full circle with Duke. And it's beautiful because there's nothing that I love more than when a team or a program fits exactly what you want them to be. And this Duke is the most hateable team on the planet.
They're back into their villain era.
Yep.
Well, it's just nice that Filipowski is just, accepting his role as the next white boy up in the long line of hateable white guys on Duke. Because for a while it was like, I like Filipowski, but now what a 180 in the past 2-3 weeks. It's been,
Yep.
He blatantly tripped Harrison Ingram. Yes. Completely flopped on the court storm, faked crying. He also limped after he tripped Harrison Ingram. He limped off as if he's the victim.
Yeah.
It's so crazy, but I love it. You're exactly right that it's the drama that we need. Duke is the perfect team to embody that, and it's great. And the thing is, I love picking them in March. I all this does is make me want to pick them to go farther. Not that I want Duke to win, but if I'm using my brain here, the more hate they get, the less likely people are going to have them going far. And to me, that's a good thing.
No, right? They get their powers from the hatred. Like they are like the nemesis of college sports. They are the antithesis of like happiness and joy, which is exactly why they're going to win games in March, and it's going to suck. And I hate it, and I love it so much because I feel like college basketball has been in a state for the last couple of years where it's like, well, what are we? Because the news has been about college football with like the realignment and all that, and college basketball has kind of been like, hey, we're still here. This is peak, like college basketball is all the way back, and I love it. I love it so much.
Especially like it's March, right? So even if you're not college basketball, junkie, like, we could be categorized as you're locked in right now. That's the bare minimum. You're locked in. You're watching these games, you're doing your research, and you're probably realizing that, yes, Duke is back and you probably hate them. So you're 100% right. The marketing issue, like you're saying, it's still a thing, right? It'd be hard to like use this as a tool to bring back the golden age of, marketing college basketball, because again, it's just Filipowski being an idiot. But next year, some of these recruiting classes I'm seeing very, very, very likely college basketball could be on an upswing right now. Like the pendulum is swung back to where it's going to be in the limelight a little bit more, which is awesome. So, that I'm pumped for it. We are back. We should do a little bubble talk, but really quick, Cody, let's just talk about the games that are on today, because we're not going to touch on them in our graphic or anything like that. Yep. The only one that really matters is Gonzaga St. Mary's for the WCC title. Agreed. What are your thoughts on that? Just RQ.
Yeah, so I think Gonzaga wins this game. I think they have. You talk about wanting to play your best basketball in March. That is exactly what Gonzaga is doing right now. They are 100% playing their best basketball. Like St. Mary's is a good team. Like they are a good team. Don't get me wrong. But Gonzaga just went into St. Mary's, got a tough win when they needed it. I think they are going to win the WCC. I think they are going to head into March looking like Gonzaga is going to be a very, very popular Sweet 16 Elite 8 team, because people are going to see where they're ranked, like, or what their seeding is, and be like, Gonzaga, they're always good. Why are they this low? They should be higher.
Yeah.
And pick them. And honestly, they might not be wrong because they are playing well.
They're playing that well, yeah. And it's so annoying because they were kind of flying under the radar playing well for a while. Yep. Where like, okay, Gonzaga 10, 11 seed, whatever it was, I love the idea of taking them to the Sweet 16, right? I'm obsessed with it because I think the mass public is looking at this Gonzaga team and saying, one, I'm tired of them. Two, finally they're bad. Finally I can pick against them. But now I think everyone's, in unison saying, yeah, they're good. And it's a great value upset pick, in the second round. Maybe it's too popular. I don't know. I don't think I'm actually going to care. That's how, good they're playing. They've made the Sweet 16 like 10 years in a row. It's crazy. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think they'll win that game tonight. They are only -3, which is surprising to me.
Yeah.
But again, St. Mary's is a good team. On the other hand, Cody, Notre Dame is still alive. They are not eliminated yet. This is big news.
Had them money line
Shrewsbury,
against Georgia Tech, which what tremendous dub.
Yeah, you blew a little bit of a lead there, but I'm actually just kind of putting it together right now that Shrewsbury is probably the son of Micah Shrewsbury, your guard. Yeah, I guess I had never put that together because I was like, oh, they have a good guard, Shrewsbury. I like their coach, Shrewsbury. But that's they're related, so that's hilarious. But they're playing a lot better. I also do love Micah Shrewsbury. I think Notre Dame will be good soon. That's pretty much it. Miami's getting dogged, which is good for Clemson. Charleston struggling with Stony Brook. UMass Lowell Bryant is a close game. Tomorrow's where it's just going to really, really heat up. So I'm glad we're recording today. Hopefully get it out tomorrow or Thursday. We'll see. But other than that, you want to do a little bubble talk?
Yeah, let's talk a little bubble because our sweet, sweet boys, our sweet, sweet boys at Indiana State. And I'm glad you wrote that in the notes because that's exactly what they are. Robbie Avila and this Indiana State squad. We are full on. I have completely talked myself into the fact that the tournament and the committee is going to screw over Indiana State. I'm going to drive down to Indianapolis and light the committee on fire. If they put in this doo-doo dog shit Ohio State team over Indiana State, I'm going to be livid. I'm going to be absolutely livid because all of a sudden, like, you rattle off 5 of your last 6 and Ohio State belongs in the tournament. I understand that this is not the same Ohio State team that we saw in November, December, January. However, that has to matter because if we are only going off the last 5 or 6 games, get Wisconsin out, get Michigan State out, put Indiana in, like we can't use recency bias when we evaluate these teams. And Indiana State has been so good and is so much fun. And it's good for college basketball if they are in this tournament. And I know that's a stupid thing to say because Ohio State has a lot more fans and a lot more eyeballs. But God damn it, if you put in this 13-loss Ohio State team, I'm going to lose my mind.
Well, Ohio State is still pretty darn far off. Like, if they're going to make it, I think they need to win 3 games in the Big Ten tournament, which is just unlikely. We can talk if they beat Illinois, which would be on like Friday, then we could talk. But this is what I'll say for Indiana State. They're top 30 in the net. I'm not sure there's ever been a top 30 team in the net that hasn't made it. Mm-hmm. The committee uses the net as a sorting tool, not necessarily as much as a resume tool, although it is, taken into account. But I think if they use it as a sorting tool, the way I understand it, is that Indiana State will be amongst some of these top dogs, right? Like some of these 5, 6, 7 seeds, and then Indiana State. And I cannot imagine the committee, when they see a strength of record that's in the top 40 and a KPI that's in the top 50, like these resume metrics that are better than bubble teams. If they look at that and they're sorted within teams that are automatically in the tournament, they're locks, I just don't think they're going to be able to keep them out. My only hope here is that the committee isn't like, and it's weird to say this, but like, I hope they haven't really been paying that much attention. I hope they just get a team sheet, they look at it, and they're like, I don't know really anything about this Indiana State team, but if you look at the stats, the resume, they should be in. Because if that's how they're going to do it, I actually believe Indiana State will get in. But if people on that committee were like tracking this Indiana State team, saw those 2 bad losses in a row, kind of were like, you know what, they're just not playing great, blah, blah, blah. Saw them in the non-con, didn't pick up enough good wins, then they could be out, and that would be a shame. obviously I don't think Ohio State's taking their place, but Texas A&M is a team that I do not want to see in the tournament.
Mhm.
That's a realistic option for who would take Indiana State's place. So all in all, they just need to stay top 30 in the net for me. And right now they're in the top 30. They're 29. So please stay, because we want Indiana State in. We want a two-bid Missouri Valley. We're
Yes.
desperate.
Yes, we want a two-bid Missouri Valley without a doubt. Speaking of your bubble predictions, I see your last four in here.
Yeah.
There are two of them that I don't want in. I don't want
And
Virginia and St.
well,
John's in. I'm going to be honest.
you don't
I
want
don't
who?
want them in.
UVA and St. John's?
Yeah, I don't want UVA and St. John's in, but I don't. I think you may be correct there.
See, I actually want St. John's in. I definitely don't want Virginia in. And at this point, I don't want Michigan State in at all.
Yeah.
Because it would upset me if they went on a run. As great as it is to be like, oh, it's Izzo in March, at this point, they just so aggressively don't deserve it down the stretch that if they get in and win 2 games, I'm just going to get mad. So I don't want them in or UVA in. But as of right now, yes, I would have them in. I don't know who your last 4 would be if you had to logic it out.
If I had to do last 4, I think, and maybe they're too high in the net to be in the last 4. I think Colorado is in the last 4. I think they need to win a Pac-12 tournament game.
It's fair.
I have New Mexico in my last 4.
Okay.
I think the Mountain West tournament is going to mean a lot for several of those teams in terms of seeding. Like I think like Colorado State is almost essentially a lock, and I think the rest of the Mountain West is like for sure in. But as far as seeding goes, like these games are going to mean a lot because they're all just kind of neck and neck. And then St. John's, and then I think Michigan State's probably on the right side of the bubble, as much as I hate to say it. So I think it's a team maybe like Seton Hall or like Villa.
So would you have Indiana State safe then, off of
Yeah,
Dayton?
yeah.
Okay.
I would have them outside of my last 4 in. I just, if you're top 30 in the net, I don't know.
Which
We'll see.
is true, but then again, this is funny to me because I actually have New Mexico probably out right now, and they're also top 30 in the net. The difference with that is New Mexico has a 70 strength of record, which is for me, you got to be top 50. They're not even really close to top 50, so that's kind of shaky. But yeah, I don't hate that. Seton Hall could be there. I think they should be more safe. But again, where are they in the net? They're 62, but that strength of record at 33 is great. It's tough, it's going to be really tough. We're going to see on Selection Sunday, I got Bracket Matrix to approve my bracketology.
Nice.
So if I have a good enough showing on Selection Sunday, I should be like a part of that going forward, which would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be outstanding. We have our own official bracketology expert on the podcast.
It would be cool.
Sick. All right. Speaking of, we were talking Mountain West teams. The Mountain West, San Diego State, Boise State, like this has been without a shadow of a doubt the most fun conference in college basketball this year. I think every game has been down to the wire, like high scoring. These teams are so much fun. They go on unbelievable, like there are games that teams have been up 10, 15 points, blow those leads, or the teams come back. Like it has been nothing but high stakes, fun basketball. I'm so glad that the Mountain West is going to be well represented in this tournament because holy shit, I think they are the most fun conference in college hoops this year.
Yeah, I just posted a video a couple days ago about the Mountain West, and just how insane it is, how jumbled they are, where you probably don't have anyone that's a 5 seed quite yet. Nevada, maybe is close. I don't think they're a 5 quite yet, and I don't really think you have anyone below an 8 seed unless you have New Mexico in. But for me, if I had 5 teams in, it would be 6 seed, 7 seed, 8 seed, all of them, which is nuts because if the bracket played out as all chalk, none of them would be in the Sweet 16, which is fascinating because, I don't think we would clown on them, but people that don't really consider and watch as much would probably be like, oh, the Mountain West, the most overrated conference ever, blah, blah, blah. Where it's like, well, it's just been an electric, like, we should not shit on this conference. They got 5 teams in. Some of them are going to win in the first round and then play 3 seeds and 2 seeds. It's just going to be tough for them to get to the Sweet 16. But if they get 1 or 2 teams in the Sweet 16, I think we should celebrate. We should raise a banner because that's just a fantastic season. And like you said, every game's close. It's just been a magical year. So I do hope I'm going to be rooting for them.
Yeah,
aggressively.
100%. Speaking of a team I'm pissed off about, we called Kansas frauds. Then Kansas came back into our lives a little bit, and then they became fraudulent again. They laid down and took a beating from Houston. They got their ass whooped. It was. Yep. It wasn't a close game at any point. Houston dominated that conference. Kansas finishes I believe they're 6th in the Big 12, which is absolutely insane. And then now, after they lost to Houston, what'd you say?
Like 10-8, 6th in the Big 12, considering how good the Big 12 is. Still pretty darn good, in my opinion. But obviously, we're talking about Kansas, so it is different. But
yeah. Well, now Kevin McCullough and Hunter Dickinson are both missing the entire Big 12 tournament because of injuries. Yeah. This Kansas team might be like dead.
Yeah, which is tough. And listen, I'm happy you didn't bring it up, Cody. It's nice of you to spare me, but I will bring it up. Last week, I did predict Kansas over Houston. Not pumped about that. I thought it made sense. It clearly did not. Again, I've been a Houston guy the whole time, so I was just kind of trying to do something crazy. It just did not work out for me. I will semi-victory lap BYU. That pick was also crazy, but they were darn close to going into Iowa State and winning. Should have done it, honestly. But, yeah, I think Kansas is – I mean, they're – like, as of right now, they're a 3 seed for me. And I've had some, debates on my live and on my TikTok about people saying that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Kentucky should be a 3, blah, blah, blah. Kansas beat Kentucky, okay? Like this year, that already happened. Kansas has wins over Houston, UConn, Tennessee. Like, for everything Kentucky's done, Kansas has done that and then some. But it looks like they're probably going to lose their first game in the Big 12 tournament. I think it would be against Cincinnati, if I'm being honest, which would be massive for Cincinnati. And then if that's the case, I think we can probably bump Kansas down. I feel more comfortable doing it then. But as of right now, and if they do win that Cincinnati game somehow, they're probably a 3, which is just it's crazy. I don't know, Cody. We'll have to talk Kansas once the tournament, once the bracket's revealed, because there's a world that I do something crazy. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be, we'll see. I'm sure that, McCullough and Dickinson will play in the actual tournament, but like, if they're not 100%, that Kansas team has been like, they are the backbone of that Kansas team. And that Kansas team is already not deep. Like, depth has been their issue all season. When they go to their bench, they haven't been good. When McCullough was hurt, Kansas slid a little bit.
Is like the guy that if he's out, they're going to look bad. Dickinson, I was honestly interested to see what they played like without him, but it's just we're not going to be able to tell because McCullough's out as well. So just a crying shame.
Yep. We will see. So before we get into conference tournament predictions, real quick, if you guys are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure you guys subscribe. It's the best way to support us. It's absolutely free. March Madness is a huge time for us, for the podcast. So the best way to support is to hit that subscribe button. Also, we want to give back to you. We've talked about Home Field before. They are not the presenting sponsor of this podcast, but I mean, both the boys have a deal with Home Field. So that
True.
being said, we will be doing a bracket challenge. It is absolutely 100% free to enter. It is going to be on ESPN. It is going to be free to enter, and we have prizes for the winners. So by the time you are listening to this, it may or may not be up. Just check the links in our bios on social media, whether that's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever. Look at our bios. We'll post about it as soon as it's live. We'll put it in our Instagram stories. But that link, you will join our bracket challenge. The first place winner will get a $150 gift card to Home Field. The second place winner will get a $50 gift card to Home Field. And the third place winner will get a $25 gift card to Home Field. And not only can you use those gift cards, but then you can use promo code NICK15. And this goes for everybody, not just the winners, but you can use promo code NICK15 to get 15% off your first purchase at Home Field. It is the best retro, like stylish college merch in the game. They just dropped some throwback jerseys, the Syracuse one, chef's kiss, fucking awesome. But that being said, the Home Field stuff is absolutely incredible, and you guys are going to get a chance to get your hands on it. So join the bracket challenge. I cannot wait to whoop all of your asses exactly like I did in the bowl pick'em.
Yeah.
Let's rock.
We did pretty well. We did pretty well in the bowl pick'em, honestly.
We did do well in the bowl pick'em. I mean, I finished fourth out of like 190 people.
Which is very good.
But you were, I mean, top, what, 10, 15%?
Yeah, something like that.
So, absolute nails. With that being said, the picks this week, I went 10-6. Nicky picks went 8-8. I would be like, oh, I'm gaining a lead. You're still up on me by 6. So, this is a big. The conference tournaments is going to be big. We're not going to pick games individually this week because, we don't know who's playing this weekend as the conference tournaments progress. So we are going to pick a winner and a runner up for every remaining conference tournament that we have not talked about. So if you want to see the mid-major stuff, we did a video on that last week. Go check that out. It's up on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. But for the conference tournament predictions that we have remaining, Nick, let's get into it. I feel like I just went on a all-time ad promo.
Yeah, what a monologue, Cody. There. What a monologue. That's just Oscar nomination worthy.
That's how you know we're becoming professional podcasters, dude.
Yeah, I mean, we're in our zone right now. We're like Super Saiyan. It's March. We're plus 5 all stats. But we're going, I think, alphabetical here, Cody. I can't necessarily tell whether or not the A10 deserves to be first over the ACC. I don't know. I guess Atlantic 10, it's a number. Doesn't matter. We'll start with the A10. You can go first. Again, it's your champ and runner-up. This is going to count towards our picks. So there's 18 possibilities here. So you are very much alive, Cody.
Yep.
But we're not going to count. The big dance is not going to count towards the picks. So this is the last, 5-day stretch of this challenge. I have a good lead. I feel good. We'll see what happens here. Go ahead with your picks.
Yep. So the A10, I have Loyola Chicago as the winner in this one. I think truly the two best teams in the A10 I like Richmond. I don't think they're the best team in the A10. Loyola Chicago being the 2, Dayton being the 3 seed. That matchup is going to be very fun if they play that game on Saturday. That being said, Dayton is not playing phenomenal basketball right now. They've slid off a little bit. I don't feel super confident in them. So I'm going with Loyola Chicago. That being said, I don't have confidence in anybody in the top of the bracket outside of Richmond. UMass is playing some pretty solid ball, but I'll take Richmond over them. So my pick for the A10, I have Loyola Chicago over Richmond in the A10 championship game.
And I'm also going Loyola Chicago. I do think that Dayton, they're getting their point guard back, and I think they're going to look better than they have in this tournament. But there's something to be said. I've been saying this on my lives for weeks now, that there is magic around that school. And it blew my mind, Cody, when I looked it up a month ago and was like, is Sister Jean still alive, or when did she die? And no, she's still alive. She is still alive. It is 104 years young. And
Yep.
she's a witch, Cody. She's a witch. She has supernatural powers. And I cannot, if Loyola Chicago is playing fantastic, they're the 2 seed in a stacked A10. That alone, you're already, like, you're going to boost on top of that. To me, I can't pick against them. Even though I think Dayton is going to look great. It's like going to be really hard for them to beat Dayton. It's just, I'm riding the magic. I have UMass as the runner-up. I think Richmond's good, but I don't think there's a big enough difference between a team like Richmond and UMass, or even Richmond and George Mason or St. Joseph's. Like, that's the beauty of the A10, is that anyone could win this conference. We
Yep.
could both be so aggressively wrong here.
Oh, yeah.
But Frank Martin, incapable of submission, UMass, 7-year anniversary of Frank Martin taking South Carolina to the Final Four. I can see a world where UMass is almost going to get into this tournament. So,
yep, love to see it. Nick, you are our ACC pro. What are your thoughts on the ACC tournament? Because as much as I think it could get a little crazy, I also think that we could see a third iteration of North Carolina Duke. But what do you have for this conference?
I think North Carolina Duke is just slightly too on the nose for March's sake. It just doesn't feel like that should happen. Obviously, it very well could, but I'm not expecting that much chaos to happen in this conference. Like, I think Wake Forest Pitt would be a great game, but it's going to be like a pick 'em. Do I think UNC could lose to Virginia Tech or Florida State? Probably not. Do I think Duke could lose to Syracuse? No. Not really. So it's just that bottom region with Clemson, UVA, and whoever wins in Miami, Boston College. That you might see some tricky stuff there. And so for that reason, I'm going to go North Carolina on the top half, and then Clemson on the bottom. Again, if you guys frequent the podcast, you know that I am a Clemson fan, so it feels a bit crazy. But I do think that this Clemson team is the best Clemson team that I've seen. And if they're going to do it ever, it should be in a year where the ACC only has 4 teams projected into the field, because Clemson could have had a great team right in 2018, but there were 3 ACC teams as 1 seeds that year. You know what I mean? It was just they weren't going to have a chance to actually win the ACC. This year, they have to realize this is their chance. Clemson has never won the ACC tournament. They've never done it. It's crazy. They're one of the original ACC teams. They've never won the college basketball ACC tournament. So I think there's a little juice there. They should get close. But if they're going up against North Carolina fighting for that 1 seed, I think you're going to get North Carolina's best efforts and probably fall short. That's my guess.
Yeah, I think North Carolina is playing the best ball in the ACC right now. I also have them as my ACC champion. Call it a little chalky. I have them winning over Duke. That being said, I do think the bottom of that bracket, I think Duke Clemson is, it's not a sure thing, but I think Clemson beats Virginia on a neutral site. I feel pretty good about this Clemson team. People forget that Duke Clemson game came down to the absolute wire. And if the refs didn't have Duke's Johnson in their mouth at the end of that game, Clemson wins that. So
yes,
I truly think that game will be so much closer and better than a lot of people think. That being said, I'm going to ride with Duke, but
I don't hate it. I think going Duke there I think Duke's honestly a different team than they were in that game. But I also think that it'd be like Clemson plus 3.5 in that game or something like that, where it's kind of okay, Duke's a slight favorite, but it could easily go either way. And I'm just going Clemson because we deserve that win. We do. But all right. So far 2 for 2 on winners. We have the same, and I honestly don't know if it's going to change on this next one. It's the Big 12. You can take us away.
Yeah, death taxes, Houston just beating your ass defensively. They have been so much fun to watch. Shed winning the Big 12 Player of the Year and Big 12 Defensive
Well
Player of the
deserved.
Year.
Well
I
deserved.
mean, huh?
Well deserved. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
he is a freak of nature.
yeah.
So
And
good.
they've controlled this conference. I don't think they're slowing down anytime soon. I think they are the best team in the country. I also think the bracket kind of lines up well for them in the Big 12 tournament. If they play Texas Tech or BYU, like maybe gives them a little bit of a scare. I don't think TCU or Oklahoma are offensively are going to give them enough to push past Houston. So I like Houston in this one. As far as my runner up, it's not sexy, but Iowa State is such a tough team. They're well coached. TJ Otzelberger, an absolute, like what he's done with that Iowa State program after taking them over. They won 2 games when TJ Otzelberger took that team over. And now they are the 2 seed in the vaulted Big 12. I mean,
Yeah.
shout out to them, but they just
Fantastic.
won't go down without a fight. So I'm taking Houston over Iowa State. You have a team in your championship game that I think is Charmin Ultra Soft. So I'll let you talk about them, but I think Iowa State bullies them.
Well, that's if Iowa State gets there, which might not happen. Again, Cody, let's just backtrack a little bit here. You have 2 seed over 1 seed, 1 seed over 2 seed, 1 seed over 2 seed. So
yeah,
you're Mr.
hey,
Chalk McGee.
Give me a. I'm not. Once we get down through some of these other conferences.
No. Listen, just as of right now,
okay.
I'm just saying that,
Shit.
like maybe I'm throwing in a couple upsets in there, right? You haven't done it yet, but maybe I am. Iowa State Baylor, to me, that's not a guarantee that we see that as a semifinal. I think Texas is playing pretty good basketball. I think they could beat Iowa State, or even Kansas State. We just saw them do it, right? If they beat Texas, maybe they do it. They're playing for their lives right now. I am in agreement in Houston winning. It's funny. Bob Huggins last year, I don't know if you remember him saying this, but he was like, "Oh, if you think you're good, Houston, just wait until you come to the Big 12. It's gonna hit you like a freight train." Mm-hmm. And then they speed ran the conference. They just absolutely dominated it, and it's the best conference in basketball. So incredibly impressive. But on the bottom half, I actually do think it's going to be a Baylor Texas semi, and then I believe in Baylor to win that game. I could have Texas advancing, but let's not go too crazy here. I'm going to go with Houston over Baylor. To me, feels like it could absolutely happen. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Don't hate that one bit. Let's go Big East, because the Big East has been just absolutely outstanding. An unbelievably fun conference to watch all year. That being said, UConn has been a wagon. Who do you have winning this conference? Is it UConn? Is it one of these other teams that, like, Creighton's looked good, Marquette has looked good? Like, there have been a lot of teams that have been playing a lot of really good basketball.
Well, obviously, there is a massive separation between, UConn, Creighton, Marquette, and then the rest of the pack. I like how St. John's is playing right now. I really do. They're just kind of unlucky that they, if they beat Seton Hall, which I'm projecting them to do, then they run into UConn. UConn didn't win the Big East tournament last year, fun fact, because they were national champions, but they didn't win the Big East. So they're going to want to win the Big East, for some of their seniors, whatnot. So I don't think St. John's stands a chance. I think UConn has almost a free path to the final, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But on the bottom half, Marquette Creighton, in my opinion, would be a fantastic game. Could Villanova beat Marquette? Sure. I think that's possible. Again, you got teams playing for their lives. You're going to see some crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. But I like Creighton UConn, and I feel pretty confident about that. My thing is Creighton's never won the Big East tournament, and they're probably going to lose. I mean, they're going to lose Kalkbrenner. Ashworth probably. He might have another year. Trey Alexander will.
They're going to lose Baylor Shireman for sure.
Basically, like, Shireman's gone. Like, this is kind of their year to do it. They're playing great right now. They're up into like the top 10 in the net. Like they're a 3-seed lock, it seems like, when we were talking about. They weren't even in the top 16 in the bracket reveal. So they're on an upward trajectory. I think they can finish the job this year. We know they can beat UConn because they can shoot threes like no one else in the country. So I'm going a little bold. I'm doing Creighton over UConn, but by no means am I judging your pick, which is just the opposite.
Yep. And I am very, very excited to see the guard matchup between Ashworth and Tristan Newton. I'm excited to see the big matchup between Kalkbrenner and Donovan Clingan. I hope that we get that matchup because it will be pay-per-view television if it happens. 6:30 p.m. Fox for the Big East finale. Dial me up, dude.
No,
It's gonna
honestly,
be
Cody,
scenes.
can't cancel your plans Saturday. It's St. Patty's Day. I don't fricking care, man. I get me in front of a quad box with the volume on. Like I need to be locked in Saturday. All my friends are like, "Oh, we're doing a bar crawl." I'm like, I cannot. I just can't do it. I can't. This is too important. I need to watch Creighton versus UConn if that's the case, right? So,
Yep. Yep.
we'll move on to the Big Ten,
100%.
which I think is a weaker conference than it has been in years past. We've seen Big Ten, get 10 teams in the tournament just like 3 years ago, right? Like
Yep.
we're used to them just getting overbid aggressively. This year, that is not going to happen. I think it's 6, 7 max,
Yeah.
but could be 5. Um, you know, so what are your thoughts, kind of just going into the Big Ten tournament? Who do you have?
So the Big Ten, I have, it's not chalk, but it's two teams that are playing really good ball. Here's the thing with the Big Ten tournament. I think that there are going to be teams playing in the semifinal game that you are just absolutely stunned to see. They're like Ohio State has won 5
Yeah,
out of their
yeah,
last
yeah.
6. They're playing some phenomenal basketball. Indiana, they were left for dead for a while. They are getting healthy finally. They are playing some really good ball. Michigan State and Wisconsin, two teams that are ranked 5th and 8th in the Big Ten, they're playing what is borderline abysmal basketball. I mean, just abysmal basketball. And then you have Northwestern, who Boo Booey can give you a 30-piece and make you feel terrible about your defense. I feel like this conference is really up in the air, and
Kind of.
it kind of is. Purdue has been dominant, but and this might be a story. Maybe I'm playing into the storylines a little bit, but Purdue is going to Purdue one last time before we get into March. And everybody's going to watch that championship game on Sunday afternoon, and they're going to go, what? Like, oh, Purdue is still Purdue. I'm going to pick them to lose to the 16 seed. It's not. It's not going to happen. But Purdue, I have them losing to Nebraska, a Nebraska team that has never won a NCAA tournament game. I have them heading with a full head of steam. Kasai Tominaga is playing some of the best ball that he has ever played right now. He dropped a 30-piece this weekend. Give me Nebraska over Purdue in the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, and I kind of like where your head's at in that sense, where you're saying, Purdue Sunday. The Big Ten is the last conference championship game before Selection Sunday, so everyone in the world will be watching that game. Say Nebraska does what they did earlier to Purdue, and they win by like 20. You're right. The world is going to say, wow, Purdue's done. They freaking stink. You're going to see all of their flaws. It'll probably happen to me. It'll probably happen to you if they end up losing that game. But for me, I can't. I honestly think Purdue's just leaps and bounds above anyone else in this conference, besides Illinois. I do think Illinois is a great team. I don't know if, they definitely could have beat Purdue, but that was a home game. They still fumbled it away. I think we're gonna see, like you said, some chaos. At least in one team's gonna make the semifinal that probably just should not be there. Whether it be Ohio State or Indiana, I think it'll probably be one of those teams. That's my guess. And for that reason, I kind of just decided to do something crazy and have Purdue over Indiana in the final, which I think Purdue would smoke Indiana in the final. But Indiana is playing really good basketball. If they don't have to play Illinois because Ohio State beat them, then really all they have to do is beat Nebraska, who I think is a beatable team considering how Indiana's been playing. So I think it's very possible that we see that. But again, the comments on my TikTok were in massive disagreement with that take, which is justified. But we're going crazy. We're going bold. We're trying to do something special here. So that's what I'm doing.
Yep, I don't hate that at all. Speaking of bold, the Mountain West.
Oh my God.
We have the same picks.
Yeah, we have the same picks.
For albeit for out of all these conferences, for us to have the same picks on one, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Well, it's the most surprising for sure, though, just considering how aggressively it seemingly impossible it would be to predict this right.
Yeah,
and we're both going the exact same final and champion runner up. Like that's pretty surprising to me.
Yeah, the thing with this, and you talked about it a lot last week, where you want to put your faith in teams and coaches who have been there and done that before, right? And it's worked out really well for you, actually. You predicted the mid majors significantly better than I have, but going with the teams and the coaches that have been there and done that. And you want to talk about a coach who has been there and done that. It's Brian Dutcher at San Diego State. Like, he is far and above the most established coach in this conference. He has won a significant amount of tournament games at this point. Like, he took his team to the Final Four last year. This San Diego State team is good. And I understand that they are the 5th ranked team in the Mountain West. I still think they are the best team in this conference. That being said, I think they have a little bit more difficult of a path than Nevada to make it. And I think that just kind of attrition wears them down a little bit. And I have Nevada over San Diego State. You could ask me 10 times who's going to win that game. I'll give you 5. I'll give you a different answer all 10 times. Because I truly don't know. I'm super excited. The Mountain West, honestly, you could pick any of the teams in the top 7. And I would not be surprised about the winner.
Yep. And I have Nevada over San Diego State as well. My reasoning behind it, sort of like what you're saying, San Diego State has, I believe, been in the final 5 years in a row, and I think they've won it 4 out of 5 times. The only time they didn't was Boise State, maybe 2021. And maybe San Diego State wasn't in that final. I don't remember. But they consistently get there, whether they have a fantastic team like the Malachi Flynn 2020 COVID team, or they have kind of an underwhelming team and they still make it there. So this year it's kind of right in the middle. I don't know if I would say they're the best team. I don't think there is a best team in this conference. I seriously think that, but I believe because they've been there, done that, they're going to make it. I'm going Nevada over San Diego State because I believe they're playing the best basketball out of any team in this conference right now. But that can change with the flip of a coin. Like it can just change immediately. They could lose their first game. So crazy. I honestly genuinely would bet against me ever being able to pick this right. I'm almost willing to guarantee that we're both not going to get this right. So we should just move on. But we'll see. If we do get it right, victory lap.
Yeah, San Diego State has been in the final of the Mountain West Championship every year since 2018. And then outside of 2017, they've been in it every year since 2014. So they've missed it. They have missed it twice since 2009.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's insane. That's absolutely
obviously the
insane.
Conference is a lot better, but you've had teams like a Nevada and a New Mexico who have been New Mexico was a 3 seed in 2014. I guess San Diego State didn't win it, but Nevada had a couple great teams with the Martin twins. You've had I don't know, some of these teams have just been really good. Colorado State in 2022 was a 6 seed. It's just a masterclass that they're able to do this year in, year out. So why pick against them this time?
Yep. The Pac-12, I thought that my champion for the Pac-12 was going to be the easiest decision of my life. And then I watched Arizona just fumble away the USC game. Like just absolute shit their pants. And now I don't feel great about it. I truly don't. And I thought Washington State was good, but then they pissed down their leg and lost to Washington. The Pac-12, I feel worse and worse about every week. And I don't feel any confidence in picking a winner or a second place team. Like could they all lose? Because I truly I don't feel confident in any team in the Pac-12 right now.
Yeah. So I mean, you're going Arizona. You're not confident. You're going Colorado on the bottom half, which I think is fair. They have a great starting five. They have some NBA talent. I don't hate it at all. I'm going Arizona. I'm a little indifferent here, or sorry, not indifferent, but just I have a differing opinion in the sense that I feel very confident in Arizona to win this conference tournament. I don't think anyone's going to be able to compete with them because, again, we've kind of said it this year. They, when they're actually playing for something bigger, it seems like they turn it on. Mm-hmm. I think they had the 1 seed locked up at USC. They probably slept. I think Tommy Lloyd has a little bit of a problem there, where he doesn't get his guys to treat lesser competition as equal, right? Yeah. Do I think USC? I actually had USC money line at like plus 500 in that game. That was awesome. But USC, could they beat them again? Less than a week after doing it? I don't think so. It'd be so hard to go beat Arizona 2 times in a row. In my opinion, when you're a team like USC who's sub 500, right? It's just not something that I believe could happen. So I definitely feel confident in Arizona. The bottom half, I, again, kind of went crazy here. I feel like I picked a lot of these 6 seeds to do something crazy. Mm-hmm. I think Utah could beat, Colorado. I believe that's possible. Could they beat Washington State? Sure. I think they've done it this year. They're not a bad team. They've looked bad, but they're not a bad team. They're also a team that's fighting for their lives. So I think they could make it to the final, but I don't think they could beat Arizona. So,
yeah. And I do think outside of USC, they're the 9th seed in this conference solely because they were hurt for like 6 weeks, like without Isaiah Collier, like they were just very, very banged up. But outside of that, like after Utah, just a major drop off in terms of like 7 through 10 or 7 through 11. I just no faith in outside of USC. So last conference, the SEC, which they have 4 teams in this conference who I think could be a champion in just about any other conference. Maybe 5 if you want to include South Carolina, but I think they're just a step below. But Tennessee, Auburn, Kentucky, and Alabama, I think could be one of, if not the best team in any other conference in the country. They are that good. They at their peak, though, all 4 of those teams could be the best team in the country. Like Alabama is the highest scoring team in the country. Kentucky's right up there. Tennessee, I think, is top 15 in scoring. These teams can put the ball in the damn hoop. And I would not be surprised at all if we had a team go for 100 at some point in the SEC tournament, which is absolutely insane.
Oh yeah, we definitely will. Have you seen the bottom of that bracket?
It's not an ounce of defense is going to be played, and I cannot Alabama, wait to watch.
Alabama, Kentucky, and Florida. Like, we're going to at least see probably 2 of those games, maybe even more. That's just amazing. Like that, the offense is going to be nuts. You, I think, just changed your pick. If my eyes don't deceive me,
I did.
Who to and why?
So I picked Alabama over Tennessee, and the reason being, I keep thinking about Kentucky and how good that they have looked at times this year. And I also remembered how bad Kentucky has looked at times this year. And if they come off, I think Texas A&M beats Ole Miss. And if they have to come off of a game where they have to play Will Wade and they are just pressured by Buzz Williams, and they are pressured, and they are pushed, and they are shoved, and they are bullied, and they are pushed around a little bit, and then the next night they have to go and try to defend Alabama or Florida. I just don't think that they're going to be able to do it. So I think Alabama's got an easier, lead up into that game. Alabama's shown that they can beat Kentucky already this year. I'm gonna take Alabama, and I like Alabama over Tennessee. So give me Alabama. I have no. You could ask me 4 times who's going to win this conference. I could give you 4 different answers. But right now, in my heart of hearts, give me Bama over Tennessee.
Yeah, and I honestly thought I was being bold, taking Bama to the final. I have Auburn over Alabama. Little Iron Bowl Part 3 in college basketball, SEC championship game. It would feed families. It would be electric, appointment TV. My reasoning is, I think if you asked like a sample size of 100 college basketball fans, who do you think is going to be in the SEC championship game? I honest to God think that like 85% of them would say Kentucky and Tennessee. I think it's that, like, it's going to be that aggressive where people are like, oh, Auburn frauds, Alabama, they're so frauds, Florida lost to Vanderbilt, blah, blah, blah. It's Kentucky, Tennessee. No one's going to even think about it twice. And that's just not how March Madness works. It isn't. Could it happen? Of course. But like, in my heart of hearts and in my logical brain, I cannot pick that with good conscience. So I'm going Auburn, Alabama, just solely because I'm fading the public aggressively, because the public's just very aggressive, one-sided here. So I don't like Alabama.
When you look at, history in the SEC the last couple of years, Kentucky won 28 Kentucky won in 2018, Auburn in 2019, Bama in 21, Tennessee in 22. Like, all 4 of these teams have done it within the last several years. They're all very, very talented, very good programs. So I could see any and all of them winning this tournament. But so for the SEC tournament picks, I have Alabama over Tennessee. Nick, you have Auburn over Alabama. I super excited for this weekend as we get closer to March Madness, for conference tournament week. Nick, it's here, man. It's here, and I'm so ready. So for the bracket challenge, reminder, check out our social medias. If you guys want to get some awesome March Madness gear before the tournament starts, use Nick15 at home field to save 15%. We're all about deals here. So make sure you guys use that. It helps us, helps the program, helps Nick maybe get a computer so we don't have technical issues while we record the podcast. But that being said, as we get into the tournament, we will record. There is a possibility that we go live on Selection Sunday. So either way, I'm sure both of us will go live on TikTok. There's a possibility we'll try to go live here. We will see, but stay tuned in. That being said, thank you for listening. It is March, and we will see you in the next one.